They say New York never sleeps. But in one small apartment in Manhattan, the silence between midnight and 3 a.m. was deafening. The tenant, a 26-year-old woman named Samantha, thought the strange drafts in her bathroom were nothing more than poor insulation. Until one night, she felt a breath on the back of her neck and realized she was alone. Samantha had moved into apartment 6B only 6 months earlier. It wasn't anything special. Small kitchen, a window facing another brick wall. The kind of space that feels temporary, like you're just passing through. Rent was cheap by New York standards, which should have been her first warning sign. Her landlord never fixed anything on time, and there was always an odd humming in the walls. But she ignored it. Because in New York, you learn to adapt to strange noises. Then came the smell. It started one night after work. A faint, metallic odor, like old pennies and wet concrete. It came from the bathroom, specifically from behind the mirror. She tried cleaning it, wiping the surface, even spraying disinfectant. But the smell never faded. It seemed to come through the mirror, not from around it. That's when she noticed something even stranger. The mirror was loose. When she pressed her fingers along the edges, it wobbled slightly. Not like it was nailed into the wall, but like it was covering something. She should have called maintenance. She should have ignored it. But curiosity in New York is like a disease. Once it infects you, it takes over. That night, Samantha grabbed a flashlight and began to tug at the mirror. It was heavier than she expected. The sound of metal scraping against the drywall echoing in the tiny room. With one final pull, it came free, and behind it was a black, square hole. A gap large enough for a person to crawl through. Cold air poured out, carrying that same metallic scent. Her heart was pounding. The hole led to a pitch-black space behind her bathroom wall, a hidden room no one had told her about. She hesitated, standing in front of the hole with her phone camera on, recording everything. She whispered to herself that she'd just take a peek, that it was probably part of the building's old infrastructure. But deep down, she already knew this wasn't normal. She climbed through. Inside, her flashlight illuminated something she could never forget. It was another room, the exact same layout as hers, mirrored in reverse. There was a toothbrush on the sink, an empty water bottle on the floor, and a sleeping bag pushed into the corner. Someone had been living there. The air was cold and stale, but she could hear faint footsteps above or below. She couldn't tell. Then, a whisper, her name. She froze. Samantha. It was low, almost like it was coming from within the walls themselves. She turned, scanning the darkness, but no one was there. The mirror on the opposite wall, the mirror inside the hidden room, was shattered. The shards angled toward her reflection, like jagged eyes. That was the first night she truly felt watched. Samantha called her landlord immediately, but he didn't answer. She called again and again, until finally the next day, he sent a maintenance worker. The man looked uneasy the moment she showed him the gap behind her mirror. He said quietly, "This shouldn't be here." When she asked what he meant, he told her that apartment 6B had once been sealed off after an incident. He didn't elaborate, but he left quickly, promising to return with tools to seal it again. He never came back. That night, Samantha couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she heard movement behind the wall. Soft scratching, as if something were crawling just beyond the plaster. When she checked, the mirror she had taken down was lying flat on the floor, but in its reflection, the hole looked smaller, like something on the other side was pressing against it, closing it off from her view. She didn't go to work the next day. Instead, she set up her phone to record the bathroom overnight. When she reviewed the footage the next morning, her stomach dropped. Around 2:47 a.m., the camera picked up faint movement, a pale shape emerging from the hole for just a few seconds. It wasn't clear enough to identify, but it was human, and it was looking around her bathroom. Then it vanished back through the wall. Samantha ran to the police. They arrived within the hour, skeptical but curious. The officers crawled into the space and confirmed there was indeed a hidden area connected through a narrow corridor that led to an old service shaft. They found traces of food wrappers, blankets, and a half-burned candle. Someone had been squatting in there. The building's management promised to secure the space, but something about the officers' faces when they emerged bothered her. They looked disturbed, more than they should have been. Days later, the noises continued. Samantha started hearing whispers again. Sometimes it was her name. Other times it was just breathing. Her neighbors began to complain about flickering lights and strange smells in their own apartments. One night, when she looked into her phone camera using the front-facing lens, she saw something standing behind her reflection. Tall, gray, motionless, just beyond the hole where the mirror once was. But when she turned around, the space was empty. Her friends told her to move out. She agreed. But before she could, she decided to do one last thing to seal the hole herself. As she stood there with a hammer and nails, her phone began to ring. The screen said unknown caller. When she answered, the voice on the other end whispered, "You shouldn't have gone in." Then silence. Her apartment lights flickered. The temperature dropped. And from the hole in the wall came a faint metallic scraping, like nails on the inside of the mirror. She backed away, trembling, the flashlight shaking in her hand. Then, slowly, a hand pressed against the inside of the wall, pushing the drywall outward, bending it like flesh. She screamed and ran. She didn't return. When building security finally entered apartment 6B, they found the mirror reattached to the wall. But behind it, where the hole had been, was something new, a fresh layer of bricks, sealed from the inside. No one could explain how that was possible. Weeks later, new tenants moved in. They reported no issues, except for one thing. The mirror in the bathroom was always slightly fogged, even when the air was dry. And sometimes, when you stood too close, you could swear you saw another face reflected beside yours. Authorities later discovered that the hidden space behind Samantha's mirror was connected to a forgotten maintenance tunnel from the early 1900s, sealed decades ago after a tenant's unexplained disappearance. Records of who lived there before her were incomplete. The landlord, when questioned, claimed ignorance and later sold the building. But here's what's strange. Samantha's footage, the original video she recorded when she first found the hole, was uploaded to her cloud account. A few weeks later, it appeared on the internet, not posted by her, but by an anonymous user. The video title simply read, "The Mirror in Apartment 6B." To this day, no one knows where Samantha is. Some say she left the city. Others believe she never actually made it out. The apartment remains rented, the mirror replaced, the walls freshly painted. But tenants continue to report strange drafts, whispers at night, and reflections that don't always move when they do. And if you visit that building on the Lower East Side, they'll tell you not to look too long into the bathroom mirror, because sometimes it looks back. Some mysteries are better left sealed. The true footage of apartment 6B remains one of the most disturbing viral clips ever found online. If you ever find something behind your mirror, don't go in. Please subscribe.